Alright, looks like my baby's turn to be in the garage. It's a 2001 Mazda Miata LS. Alright, so I'm putting this video together. Finally, it's months later, actually. And I want to just preface this video. I have a very monotone voice in general, and I was really upset through the first part of the video of figuring out what was the problem, because I didn't want it. I knew I had to spend money on brakes, but I was trying to prolong it as long as possible. Let the pads wear down all the way before replacing them, and but this issue popped up, and I just had to do everything now all of a sudden and actually pay more money than I was planning to spend. So I was pretty upset. So that's why it's kind of all monotoned, depressed, quiet. I'm going to try to add some subtitles where it might need it, but this video is more for, for the record and showing what I've been up to this past summer. One of the things I've been up to this past summer, and yeah, so I mean, some parts of it are more enjoyable than the others. My tone does pick up halfway through the video, I say, or roughly halfway through the video, and maybe 2/3 of the way through the video. So, yeah. There are performance issues that might be related to a leak in the intake manifold. I know there's exhaust leaks, but I'm pretty sure those are not the performance issues I'm having. But so we'll do that after the engine cools down. But the main problem, the reason I'm doing this tonight, is the passenger side front wheel is dragging on the brake pretty majorly. I can feel the heat coming off it from here. None of the other wheels are that hot, so it's only this wheel that's getting exceptionally hot because it's dragging the brakes. I can feel, when I'm driving, I can feel there's a drag. When I put it in neutral, the car slows down a lot more than it used to. When I try to go in first gear and try to start going slowly, it takes more to get it moving. So those are the signs. Then of course, after driving around a lot, this wheel is a lot more hot than the other wheels, which means this one's the issue. So we're gonna check it out, take a look at it, see if it's the caliper or brake line or whatever. I'm really hoping it's an easy fix, because I do need new brakes on this car. I'm just trying to wear these down all the way, pretty much. Money's worth out of them. And I really prefer not to have to replace the calipers. The lug nuts are too hot to handle. This thing's getting pretty toasty taking them off. I'm gonna have to let this thing cool down before I can mess with it. I'm going to try to compress the caliper back in. It is not moving. I'm going to go over to the reservoir, crack it open. Try one more time with gloves, because it's still hot. Yeah, okay, so it's not budging. Alright, next thing to do is to crack open the bleeder valve. If I can. Oh, wow. Well, I had to bolt it back on to the brake. That's not lining up anymore for some reason. And I had to use 2 wrenches in tandem. But as you can see, that's the bleeder valve, or half of it. And that's the other half of the bleeder valve stuck. So, yep. Looks like I'll be getting new calipers for my car. Yay. I have to spend more money on this car. Yay. Great. This side seized up. This side moves up and down freely. This side is stuck. I just can't get it out. This one comes out just fine. With a wrench, but it won't come out. And all this is pretty dry and sticky, so it's probably sucked in there pretty good. Looks like I'll have to replace the bracket entirely. Alright, so this bolt right here is stripped pretty badly, and it was stuck, really stuck, like the one on the other side was before. So I tried multiple ways to get it off. Couldn't fit any sockets around it since it mushroomed around the top of it. I tried multiple things, even vice grips, and ended up stripping it more and more. The solution was to get one of these, and it didn't just slide on like that. I had to actually wiggle and force it on, kind of apply the aluminum or whatever it is, steel, to make it fit on, and then finally stand on this and bounce on it a little bit. Eventually broke free. So I'm not planning on reusing this bolt. Probably going to get another one. This is on the driver's side. The brake pads on the driver's side are actually pretty good still. But if I replace them on one side, I should replace them on both sides. So, yay. So this hub was hard to get off. It's really stuck. Sprayed it with stuff to get it out. That didn't help much. I can't really bang on it with because I'm trying to keep quiet because the neighbors, it's nighttime. But what I ended up doing was taking one of these bolts here. I'm not really worried about it because I'm going to replace them anyways. Put it in that hole there, start tightening it down, and push it up against the back, the hub here, and push it out. So, yep. Something I've noticed, the lower ball joint, if you can see it, don't really have enough space here. I'll put you sideways. The lower ball joint here, on this side, driver's side's fine. I replaced both the driver and passenger lower ball joints for the control arm maybe about a year ago. Side that got really hot. Is in pretty bad shape. This is also the side that actually popped out. The old ball joint popped out and separated while I was driving. That's why I replaced this one a long time ago, but as you can see, all the grease has come out again. because all the weight of the car goes on the wheel. And it pulls up on this, and the weight of the car pulls down here. And that's actually what holds the weight of the car. This holds a little bit of weight, but not really. It's meant to just keep the car straight and the wheel straight. So all the car's weight goes on this ball joint here, or pulls it. Actually, kind of tries to separate it. So maybe if I think of my dilemma out loud, it'll help me. So I need new brakes for the front because, well, they need the brakes. They had a little bit of life left in them, but the other side is has a lot more material, and I might as well replace them anyways because they need replaced. Rotors will need replaced too. There's a nice little lip on there. And a gouge. It's a big gouge, actually. Oops. Okay. And I'll need to replace this caliper. No questions asked. Broke up the bleeder valve. Piston won't go back in. Yeah. Wheel seems to be alright. The lower ball joint on this side might need replaced again. Don't want to replace it because then I might need to get an alignment again. If I get the same exact type as I got before, maybe I won't need to get alignment again. And again, that's another, I don't know, 70, 80 bucks. Oh boy. This side needs new brakes. The pads aren't quite as bad. So these actually have quite a bit of life in them, but I'm probably not going to be able to reuse them anyways. Well, shouldn't really reuse them if I want even pads on both sides. So replacing pads and rotors on both sides on the front. And if one caliper is going or gone, it means the other one's probably not too far behind. And again, the one on the passenger side failed miserably, and this one's not. So I probably should just replace both. These bolts will need replaced because they're stripped and broken. The bracket on that side, on the passenger side, needs replaced because the one parts are stuck in it. This side's fine though. The rear wheels I haven't taken apart, but they seem perfectly fine. There's not much life left on the pads, so they will need replaced pretty soon. But if I can't afford replacing them now, I can just do the front stuff and then do the back later. I'll just the pads and rotors when they're replaced. However, it might be cheaper to buy a full 4 set of pads and rotors instead of just doing the front. I'll have to look at pricing online. And these are the sport brakes, so they're slightly more expensive than the standard. Alright, got the new calipers. Had to take them apart to take this one part to the store, the bracket. The bolts don't go in very well. I might have to put them in, take them out, the old ones in each one. And the store got new bolts. Because some of the old bolts, see if I can find one. Where'd he go? Have some issues here where they probably won't come off very easily again for multiple reasons. So replacing those. These are slightly longer. If that's a problem, I'll have to shorten them or add a washer or something. Shoot, I didn't think that before I came back. So after finding the leak on the intake manifold here, there was a crack right down here that went across, sucking in more air than it needed to. I used the smoke tester to find that. What I did was I drilled 2 holes, one on each side of the crack to keep it from spreading. You know, when the plastic flexes, it could actually spread the crack a little further. So we drilled holes there and there to, like really small holes, to keep it from expanding. Then we took some JB Weld, mixed it together, and put this on last night. It's nice and solid now, and it's sealed. The car idles better when it's warmed up, and it finally sounds and runs a lot more smoothly. Runs more smoothly. So I've been cleaning up a lot because this was a lot messier a while ago. But I just finished putting on all the stuff I can't put on now. So the brakes, pads, the rotors are on the back, and on the front. The new calipers are on the front. I ordered the wrong brake lines, so I had to return. I'm returning those and getting new ones. Those will be in the mail soon, I hope. Unfortunately, I broke a bolt last night on that one. I tightened it too tight. I was trying to torque it down, put in the wrong torque spec, and broke the bolt. So luckily I ended up using one of the bolts I got for replacing the mushroomed bolts on the front caliper. The reason they were mushroomed is that, let's see, they're actually down here, and there's this little, probably can't see it that well, but there's this little enclave right here that when you're trying to tighten them down, the ratchet will actually jump up on the bolt and start tightening down the very top of it. I found that out, so that's probably how those ended up that way from someone else working on them. But replaced them. I ended up using the Dremel to shorten them down, so got 2 new ones in that one, and I just used 2 good old ones for the other side. And since I broke this bolt, I used the other one I had one more extra just in case, and I trimmed it down for this one. This one's actually a little shorter than the ones up front. Otherwise, things have been going well. I had took apart that one numerous times, but this one over here just took apart, put together. No problem. So that's good. Replacing the boots on the caliper, the old boots and stuff. This one was a pain. This is half of it, but finally got them on. Figured out a way to get them on as well. Oh, my light. This might help. This is the other caliper. So that's all good. We just need to run a new brake line to it, bleed the brakes, burn in the brakes, and test drive, make sure everything runs well. But yeah, I've just been putting the last little touches together, cleaning up. Right now the brake cylinder's practically empty. I'm going to leave it that way until I replace the brake lines, so I minimize as much fluid running out of them when I'm changing them. It is raining, but that's okay. But yeah, she's still on all 4 stands until I can bleed the brakes and get those lines in and all that fun stuff. So it's a new day, and today I brought waters and the correct brake lines. I checked these boxes and they do not come with the crusher nut that the other ones did, but luckily those seem to be included with the brand new calipers, so that shouldn't be a problem. And they also don't come with the bolts, so I'm hoping the old bolt to put it in this side fits in there. So first order of the business is a little house maintenance, a little cleanup. Then a couple other things, and I gotta put the brake line, new brake lines in. Then I gotta bleed the brakes, clean up some tools. I'm gonna have to find someone to help me bleed the brakes. Hopefully my sister's at her house. And yeah, after that, test drive, make sure they work, and burn in the brakes, and then hopefully I'll be able to drive her home. Hopefully it goes as smooth as it hasn't been going so far. So I just started putting the wheels back on. So what's done here is the rotor brake pads, and for both rear sides. Let me show you the other side and give you a better look. New pads, new rotors. And for the front, driver's side, new caliper, new pads, new rotors, new brake line. On the passenger side, new pads, new rotors, new caliper, new brake line, new lower ball joint. And well, I guess when you put it that way, it sounds pretty simple, but to me it wasn't that simple. It's more simple now in my head, but I had to figure a lot of things out. New .3 brake fluid. My sister came out and helped me bleed the brakes. I tested all the brakes, make sure they catch and allow the wheel to spin still. Everything seems to be working fine. I'm going to pop on the wheels and burn in the brakes and make sure everything still works fine. And finally get to drive my car again. Good news and bad news. Good news is, drove it around, front brakes work perfectly. They're not seizing anymore. They're perfectly fine. They work great. They're broken in, as far as I can tell. This rear brake worked well, broke in fine. This one got super hot and was dragging. And I did notice it before I took it out for the drive that it would spin, and the other wheel wasn't spinning. The other wheel was spinning, but this wheel wouldn't. But I thought it was just, a simple little bit of drag that would come out when I burned in the brakes, but apparently that's not the case. You see this ring around it. It means the metal got too hot. And I really hope I didn't warp this rotor. I'm going to take them both apart, recompress the piston all the way down on both ones, and then see if it still locks up. If it still locks up, that means I'm getting new brake lines and things for the back calipers. Alright, I'm editing this video. It's a long time since then. So I realized I didn't put something in here. At this point, I did figure out how the back brakes work. They work differently because they have the e-brake connected to them. So they both have an e-brake connected to them. And the way I had to learn this while I was working on the brakes, is the way that you compress the piston, brake piston, on the caliper is that you take off a bolt on the back and then you stick a tool, I think it was like a Torx tool, down in there, and you turn this, you turn it and it actually pulls it back on its own. And then you have to adjust it so that the wheel spins freely, but there's still just a little bit of drag. And I looked up online how to do it correctly and all that, so I did that and I did it correctly. and I decided to give it a little less drag because of how uneven the wheels kind of were at the time. And what it does is when you pull the e-brake and use it a lot, it'll actually self-adjust itself over time. So what I did was I kept it loose so that it would have drag when I pulled the e-brake still. But obviously I'll show you what happens in the video. Yeah, that's yep. So I adjusted the calipers and they are working now. This side's really loose on the e-brake, and the other side is just tight enough for stopping the wheel at least. I'm hoping they adjust themselves over time and correct themselves into the proper tightness, because right now it's just barely enough to keep the car still. I could probably still move it with pushing it. Yeah, that's me pushing the car with the e-brake all the way up, so it's still pretty loose. But I didn't want to tighten that side any more than it was. And this side seemed okay. Probably could have gone a little tighter, but I'm not going to worry about it. But now I'm just going to hope it corrects itself over time. Remember to park it with the gears locked in, but yep, running smoothly now, or stopping smoothly now, I should say. Still got to clean up the garage though. Yeah, this is the other part. So after all this, I take it for a drive. I use it a lot. I use the e-brake a lot. I go up and down so many times, and eventually it did self-adjust, and the wheels now, the e-brake now works properly, and it actually holds the car still when I pull it up, and the wheels, work when I need them to. So it all works great now. Haven't had any problems with it since then. So, yep. So that's it for my video. I'll give you a few glamour shots of what it looks like now. Thank y'all so much for watching. Have a good day. Or night. Or anywhere in between.